The transmission came in silence, the kind of silence that chills the bones. The USS Titan S bridge, usually filled with activity and the hum of interstellar communications, stood still. The sudden rush of static brought every officer to attention, their eyes glued to the hollow display. Caldar has been erased. The message was brief, but its weight hung in the air, suffocating the crew. Tessa Williams, Fleet Commander of the United Earth Forces, stared at the screen. Her breath caught in her throat. The colony on Caldar was gone. Reduced to nothing. The once thriving outpost of humanity, where thousands of families lived and worked, had been turned into dust. She inhaled sharply, her fists clenching at her sides. Caldar wasn't just another colony, it was a symbol. A beacon of human ingenuity and resilience at the edge of a galaxy that had been growing colder, more dangerous by the day. Now, it was nothing but a lifeless rock. Damn it! Tessa muttered under her breath. Her voice, normally calm and commanding, was now edged with anger. The crew remained silent, the news sinking in like an anchor dragging them to the bottom. Commander Jalen Cross, her second in command, stepped forward, his expression hardening. We can't just sit here, Tessa. We need to act. Now. Tessa met his gaze, but her mind was already in overdrive. The Vorath Dominion. The same enemy that had waged war across the galaxy for decades. Their brutality was unmatched, and this act, the destruction of Caldar, was no random strike. It was deliberate. Calculated. Did we get any specifics? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. No, ma'am, replied Lieutenant Erica Hunt, her voice tight with suppressed emotion. Just that it's gone. No survivors. Nothing left but radiation and ashes. A wave of grief surged through Tessa, but she didn't allow it to show. She wasn't allowed to break. Not yet. The colony's people had trusted her to protect them. And now they were gone. But she was still here. Still in charge. And it was her responsibility to make sure the Vorath paid for what they'd done. She turned to face the crew, her posture straightening, the weight of command sinking deeper into her bones. This isn't over, she said firmly, her voice carrying across the bridge. We will strike back. We'll make them pay for what they did to Caldar. This war is far from finished. Her words hung in the air, heavy with resolve. The crew, some of whom had loved ones on Caldar, absorbed her words. But in their eyes Tessa saw something else, hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. They needed direction, and she had to give it to them. The galaxy might be vast, and the enemy might be powerful, but humanity was relentless. And they would not go down without a fight. Jalen spoke next, his voice low but steady. Do you think we can win this, Tessa? The Vorath fleet is twice our size. They have superior technology and firepower. I know the odds, Tessa replied, her eyes narrowing as she looked at the tactical map projected before her. But we have something they don't. And what's that? Jalen asked, leaning forward. Us, she said, her voice unwavering. We fight smarter. We fight together. The crew was silent for a moment, as if waiting for her next words. But Tessa didn't need to say anything more. They all knew what she meant. It wasn't just about the size of the fleet, or the strength of the enemy. It was about the people they fought for. The ones who would never get to fight again. The ones who had trusted humanity's future to them. Tessa stood there, her mind racing with the possibilities of what needed to be done. The logistics, the strategy, the alliances, they had to be ready. She wouldn't let another colony fall. Not like this. Not again. Commander, she said, turning back to Jalen. I want a full fleet briefing in 1 hour. We're going after them. I don't care what it takes. Jalen's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Understood, ma'am. As he left to begin organizing the briefing, Tessa took a moment to collect herself. She stepped away from the command center, her boots clicking against the polished floors as she walked toward the observation deck. She stared out into the black void of space, where the stars twinkled as if indifferent to the chaos unfolding in the galaxy. The cold vastness seemed to mirror the emptiness inside her. Her thoughts drifted back to Kaldar. The faces she had seen during her last visit, the children, the engineers, the researchers, all gone. Erased. It was the kind of loss that could break a person. But she wouldn't let it break her. Not now. Not when humanity needed her the most. She clenched her fists once more, feeling the fire of anger ignite deep within her. The Vorith had crossed a line. And humanity would cross another, into their territory. She wouldn't wait for them to come to her. She would bring the fight to them. Commander Williams? A voice broke through her thoughts. It was Lieutenant Nolan, standing behind her with a report in hand. Speak, Tessa said, turning to face the young officer. Ma'am, I've confirmed reports from our intelligence division, Nolan said, handing over the data pad. The Vorith Dominion is mobilizing a fleet. They're making preparations for another assault on our colonies. They don't know it yet, but they've just signed their own death warrant. Tessa accepted the report and scanned the data quickly. The Vorith Dominion was assembling their fleet in the Serpentis system, just beyond the Nebula Rift. The timing couldn't have been worse. But it also couldn't have been better. Tessa exhaled, her resolve hardening. Prepare the fleet. We're going after them. We'll strike first. Full assault. She turned and walked toward the command center, her mind already forming the strategy. The galaxy wouldn't forget what happened on Kaldar. And neither would she. In the silence of the bridge, the crew felt it. A shift. A spark. This was no longer just a retaliation mission. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Something that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. And it would start with them. With Tessa Williams leading the charge. The USS Titan cut through the void like a blade, its hull gleaming under the distant light of a dying star. The bridge buzzed with quiet urgency. Every crew member knew the stakes. Kaldar had fallen, and humanity's survival now depended on their next moves. Commander Tessa Williams paced in front of the central holomap, her sharp eyes tracing the Vorith positions in the Serpentis system. This fleet, she muttered, tapping a star cluster on the map, is only the beginning. If we don't act fast, they'll erase more colonies, one by one. Lieutenant Jalen Cross leaned over the console, analyzing the data. Ma'am, intelligence confirms that 700,000 Vorith warships are already mobilizing. Their firepower and coordination are unlike anything we've faced before. Conventional attacks won't work. Tessa's jaw tightened. She had known this wouldn't be easy. Humanity had long underestimated the Vorith, and now the price was blood-soaked. Yet, in the pit of her stomach, a spark of determination burned. We'll need unconventional strategies. We can't outgun them, but we can outsmart them. The crew exchanged glances, absorbing the weight of her words. They had lost a home. They had lost colleagues, friends, families. But they were still alive. And alive meant they could fight back. A soft chime broke the tense silence. Communications Officer Erica Hunt swiveled in her seat, scanning the incoming transmission. Commander, this is Admiral Klein of the Outer Rim Coalition. He's requesting an emergency meeting. Patch him through, Tessa ordered. The holographic image of an elderly man appeared before the bridge. His uniform bore the insignia of humanity's fragmented fleets, a patchwork of symbols representing thousands of years of exploration and conflict. Tessa, Klein's voice was gravelly yet sharp. I've seen your reports. Kaldar, it's devastating. I won't mince words. We're not prepared for what's coming. The Vorith aren't just attacking colonies. They're sending a message. They want humanity fractured, fearful, submissive. Tessa's gaze hardened. We won't be submissive, Admiral. That's why I'm here. We need to consolidate our fleets, coordinate defenses, and, if possible, take the fight to them before they strike again. Klein leaned forward, a shadow of fatigue in his eyes. You understand the odds. Even with combined forces, the Vorith outnumber us 10-1. Most of our colonies are defenseless, and time isn't on our side. I understand, Tessa replied, her voice steady. But what choice do we have? We either fight together now or die scattered later. I want every fleet that's still operational to converge on Nebula Rift Gamma. It's our only chance to establish a staging ground. A flicker of hope passed across Klein's face. I'll relay your orders. Expect resistance from the Coalition Council. They're hesitant to risk lives on a frontal confrontation. You'll need to make your case. Tessa nodded, her mind already racing through strategies. Then I'll make it personally. I'll show them the reality of the Vorith threat. The transmission ended, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Jalen broke it first. This is going to be a logistical nightmare. Getting disparate fleets to converge without being intercepted. We'll need decoys, cloaking maneuvers, coordinated hyperspace jumps. I know, Tessa said, her tone calm but resolute. But if we fail to act decisively, there won't be a next step to plan. Calder proved that. We can't wait for the Vorith to make the first move. Suddenly, the bridge shuddered violently, throwing crew members against consoles. Red emergency lights flashed. Impact! Starboard side! Shouted Lieutenant Hunt. Sensors flickered as an unknown object collided with the hull. Tessa gripped the rail, steadying herself. Report! It's a debris field. Jalen responded, rapidly analyzing the situation. Uncharted remnants of a destroyed colony, possibly remnants of Kaldar. Could have damaged navigation arrays if we weren't lucky. Tessa exhaled slowly, the tension easing slightly. Good. No casualties. Helm, adjust course to avoid further debris. And alert engineering, we'll need full repairs before we hit the next jump point. As the crew moved efficiently, Tessa allowed herself a brief pause, staring out at the endless stretch of stars. Each one could be a potential home, a potential target, a potential grave. Humanity was fragile, yet astonishingly resilient. She thought of the Kaldar families, the scientists and children, all lost in an instant. That grief would fuel her, sharpen her decisions. Hours later, after stabilizing the Titan, Tessa convened a strategy session with senior officers. Holomaps displayed Vorith fleet movements, human colony locations, and potential staging points. We need to be bold, she began, pointing to a cluster of unshielded colonies. The Vorith are confident in their dominance. They won't expect a targeted counterstrike, but that's exactly what we'll give them. We hit their supply lines first, disrupt communication networks, and force them to react. We gain the advantage through mobility and unpredictability. Jalen frowned. It's risky. One miscalculation and we could lose a fleet before the fight even begins. I know the risks, Tessa replied. But every day we wait, we give the Vorith more time to consolidate their strength. Humanity doesn't have the luxury of hesitation. Erica interjected, her eyes sharp. We'll need to send scouts ahead. Unmanned drones could infiltrate Vorith sensors, map their formations. If we can predict their jumps, we can strike at weak points. Tessa's gaze was unwavering. Then we unify them. I'll personally visit each fleet's flagship. They will see my resolve, understand the stakes, and choose to fight together, or watch humanity crumble. There's no room for hesitation. The Vorith will exploit any weakness, and we cannot give them one. Silence filled the room again, heavy with anticipation. Each officer understood the gravity of the plan. It was audacious, dangerous, and perhaps impossible, but it was humanity's only chance. Tessa rose from her chair, her presence commanding attention. Prepare the jump coordinates to Nebula Rift Gamma. Mobilize scouts and drone units immediately. Assemble a tactical briefing for the Coalition Council. We leave at first light. Humanity isn't waiting, and neither am I. The officers nodded, a ripple of determination spreading through the crew. Outside the Titan, the stars stretched endlessly. The galaxy was vast, cold, and merciless, but humanity had survived worse. And now, under Tessa Williams' command, they would fight not just for revenge, but for survival, unity, and the spark of hope that even the Vorith could not extinguish. As the Titan powered its engines for the next hyperspace jump, Tessa allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Kaldar was gone, but its memory would guide them. Every strategy, every maneuver, every calculated risk would honor those lost. Humanity might have been on the brink, But with courage, cunning, and unwavering resolve, it would rise again. The battle lines were being drawn, and for the first time since the erasure of Kaldar, Tessa felt the tide of possibilities shift. The fight had only begun, and the galaxy would soon witness the wrath of a species that refused to vanish. The council chamber aboard the Argonaut, flagship of the Outer Rim Coalition, was a cavernous expanse of steel and light. Rows of officers, diplomats, and fleet commanders sat in tense silence, their faces a mixture of fear, skepticism, and exhaustion. Tessa Williams stepped onto the elevated platform at the front of the chamber, her boots clicking sharply against the polished floor. Every eye in the room turned to her. Every ear waited for her words. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice carrying effortlessly, "we are standing at the precipice of extinction. Kaldar has been erased. Families, scientists, children, gone. The Vorath Dominion has shown us their true intentions. They want humanity fractured, broken, and afraid. And if we do nothing, they will succeed." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some heads nodded in grim agreement, others remained skeptical. Admiral Klein's gaze lingered on her from the back, silent, weighing her words. Tessa raised a hand to silence the chatter. "I understand the fear. I understand the hesitation. But hesitation will get us nothing. We cannot wait for the Vorath to strike again. We must unify, coordinate, and act now." Commander Lyra Shan, a grizzled veteran with decades of service and coalition diplomacy, leaned forward. "You speak of unity, Commander Williams, but the fleets are disparate. Some are loyal to the core worlds, others to independent colonies. Convincing them to follow a single strategy will take time, a commodity we do not have. Time is irrelevant if we do nothing," Tessa countered. Her eyes scanned the chamber, meeting each skeptical gaze with unwavering determination. "I am not asking for loyalty to me. I am asking for loyalty to humanity. To our survival. To our children. We must act as one, or we perish as many." A younger officer, Lieutenant Horace Vento, spoke hesitantly. "And what of the strategy, Commander? Even if the fleets unite 700,000 Vorath warships, our combined firepower is insufficient." Tessa's jaw tightened. "You're right. We can't win through brute force alone. But we can win through ingenuity. The Vorath rely on predictable tactics. They underestimate the creativity and resolve of humanity. Our plan will exploit that weakness." She activated the central holomap, which expanded to fill the chamber. A complex web of hyperspace routes, potential ambush points, and fleet positions shimmered in the light. "We will divide our forces into 3 main groups. First, we send agile strike teams to disrupt their supply lines. Second, we deploy reconnaissance units to infiltrate their sensor grids, relay information, and mislead their commanders. And third, we position a rapid response fleet to strike at command vessels, the heart of their fleet. If executed correctly, the Vorath will be forced to fight on multiple fronts simultaneously, diluting their strength." Silence filled the room as the officers absorbed the plan. Tessa continued, her voice steady, measured. "We will also use decoys. Cloaked transports, false hyperspace jumps, and unmanned drones will create confusion. The Vorath count on superior numbers and overconfidence. We will turn that against them." Admiral Klein finally spoke, his voice low but commanding. "You're suggesting a coordinated offensive that relies on precision, timing, and communication across fleets that do not trust each other. The margin for error is negligible." "I am aware," Tessa said, locking eyes with him. "But the alternative is guaranteed annihilation. Humanity cannot afford inaction. We will train, drill, and coordinate relentlessly. We will take calculated risks. We will make mistakes, yes, but we will adapt faster than they expect." Murmurs of agreement began to ripple through the chamber. The weight of inevitability was slowly giving way to cautious optimism. Commander Lyra's voice cut through again, sharper this time. "And what of the colonies still vulnerable? Kaldar was just the beginning. If we focus too much on a counteroffensive, we risk more innocent lives. Families will be lost while we plan and maneuver." Tessa's gaze softened, but her voice remained firm. Every life lost is tragic. Every colony destroyed is a scar on humanity. But inaction ensures that more scars will follow. The only way to protect the future is to fight for it. If we strike decisively, we create a shield that safeguards the remaining colonies. A junior officer raised a hand timidly. And what of leadership? If we unite the fleets, who commands? We have different doctrines, different hierarchies. Confusion could cripple the operation before it begins. Tessa stepped closer to the holomap, pointing to the central node. We will establish a temporary unified command structure. I will coordinate strategic decisions with Admiral Klein and the senior commanders. Tactical execution remains under each fleet's command, but all operations will be synchronized. Orders will flow from a single source, reducing miscommunication and maximizing efficiency. The chamber fell into a thoughtful silence. Every officer knew the risks, the impossible odds, yet there was a spark of recognition in their eyes, the spark of survival, the spark of determination. Admiral Klein leaned forward, his voice finally carrying conviction. Very well. Commander Williams, you will present this plan to the Coalition Council. I will endorse it. Your leadership will be the bridge between factions. But make no mistake, if this fails, it fails humanity itself. Tessa nodded. I understand. And I will not fail. Lieutenant Hunt, standing beside her, added. We'll prepare the briefings and simulations immediately. Every fleet will receive updated data. Every captain will know their role. We move tonight. Jalen Cross exhaled, a rare smile flickering across his face. It's audacious, Commander. But it just might work. Tessa allowed herself a small nod of acknowledgement. Audacity was all they had left. Precision and creativity would be their weapons. Fear and hesitation were luxuries they could no longer afford. As she left the chamber, the murmurs of discussion turned into focused preparation. Orders were dispatched. Fleets confirmed readiness. Communications relayed. Humanity, fractured and scattered, was beginning to move as one. Tessa lingered at the observation deck, looking out at the stars stretching endlessly into the void. Each point of light represented a home, a life, a memory worth protecting. Kaldar had been lost, but its memory fueled her resolve. The Vorath had made their first move. Humanity would respond. Not with surrender, not with despair, but with a calculated, unrelenting counterstrike. Her communicator beeped. Jalen's voice came through, calm but urgent. Commander, all fleets have acknowledged orders. They will begin mobilization in 15 minutes. The window for our coordinated hyperspace jump is closing. Tessa's eyes hardened. Good. Begin final checks. I want every captain briefed, every system optimized. Humanity doesn't wait, and neither do I. For the first time since the news of Kaldar, Tessa felt a spark of hope, fragile but undeniable. The fight for survival had begun, and the galaxy would soon witness the emergence of a humanity that refused to be erased. As the Titan and the Coalition fleets prepared to leap into hyperspace, Tessa allowed herself one thought. They were no longer just survivors. They were a storm in the making. And the Vorath would soon learn that some sparks, once ignited, could burn across the galaxy. The cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly before the Titan, its hull gleaming faintly against the distant starlight. Tessa Williams stood on the bridge, her fingers tracing the edge of the command console. Every blinking light, every subtle hum of machinery, reminded her of the stakes. Humanity's survival depended not on luck, but on precise execution and unyielding resolve. Bridge report, she commanded, her voice cutting through the quiet like steel. Lieutenant Horace Vento, seated at the navigation console, leaned forward. All fleets have entered jump coordinates, Commander. Recon drones are in position. Supply disruption teams are en route. Cloak decoys are deployed. Everything is on schedule. Tessa exhaled slowly. Good. Remember, this isn't just a battle of firepower. The Vorath will expect a direct approach. We will give them nothing but confusion and misdirection. Strike where they are weakest, and make them chase shadows. Behind her, Jalen Cross, Chief Tactical Officer, adjusted his headset. Commander, the first wave is in position around the Solari supply convoys. Initial disruption can begin in 30 seconds. Timing is critical. One mistake, and the entire operation collapses. Tessa's eyes narrowed. Then there will be no mistakes. The bridge vibrated subtly as the Titan entered its own hyperspace corridor, joining the Coalition's rapid advance. Outside the reinforced viewports, the void shimmered in the unnatural light of hyperspace. Every second felt like a lifetime, every pulse of energy a heartbeat echoing the anxiety of the crews. Minutes later, the ships emerged into real space, a fragmented, sprawling Vorath supply line stretching before them. Thousands of massive transport vessels moved in rigid formation, guarded by sleek destroyers with angular weapon arrays. The Vorath were disciplined, predictable, confident in their superior numbers. Target clusters identified, Horus announced. Disruption teams are ready. Cloaked drones in position. Visual confirmation on enemy patrol routes obtained. Tessa nodded. Engage. Make them question their sensors. Make them chase what isn't there. Across the battlefield, human strike units detached from the main fleet, weaving silently through asteroid belts and abandoned orbital debris. Cloaked drones projected false vessel signatures, creating phantom convoys and false hyperspace jumps. Vorath sensors pinged and blinked, their commanders barking orders in sharp, alien tones, frustrated by the constant interference. Commander! Lieutenant Hunt's voice cut through the calm. We've successfully disabled the primary fuel transports. They're drifting. The escorting destroyers are diverting to intercept. The supply line is fractured. Tessa allowed herself a brief smile. Good. Keep up the pressure. The longer they waste resources chasing shadows, the weaker their main fleet becomes. On the observation deck, Jalen Cross monitored multiple feed screens. Commander, we have incoming communications from the Vorath High Command. They're demanding an immediate ceasefire and the surrender of the strike teams. They claim they'll annihilate the outer colonies if we don't comply. Tessa's jaw tightened. Ignore the threats. Threats are cheap in a war they believe they already control. Continue the mission. Every second we delay them is an advantage for humanity. The first direct engagement came abruptly. A Vorath destroyer detected a human strike unit and opened fire. Beams of violet energy cut through the darkness, aiming to obliterate the smaller human vessels. Evasive maneuvers! Tessa shouted. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos, officers inputting commands, adjusting shields, and calculating trajectories. The human craft twisted, darted, and rolled through the void with agility the massive Vorath ship could not match. Within minutes, the destroyer was overextended, vulnerable to counterattack. Jalen's fingers danced over the tactical interface. Commander, we can take it down with a combined strike from the rapid response fleet. Targeting vectors ready. Do it, Tessa said, her voice calm but decisive. Precision over power. Disable, don't destroy. We want them alive to spread the panic. The strike was surgical. Human plasma lances pierced the destroyer's shields at weak points, forcing it into emergency shutdown mode. Its systems overloaded, leaving it drifting and powerless, a warning to the Vorath that humans were not to be underestimated. Meanwhile, reconnaissance units infiltrated sensor grids, relaying false information to Vorath commanders. Entire fleets began shifting positions based on phantom threats, exposing gaps in their formations. Tessa watched the chaos unfold, each piece of information a note in the symphony of war she had orchestrated. Horus leaned back, voice taut with disbelief. They're falling for it. Every single decoy is drawing them into miscalculations. Commander, this is working. Tessa's eyes remained fixed on the holographic display. It's working because we forced them to fight human ingenuity, not just firepower. Every move is calculated, every risk considered. Keep it that way. Then an alert blinked red. A large Vorath dreadnought had broken through the outer ambush, heading directly for the Coalition's main fleet. Its size was overwhelming, dwarfing even the largest human warships. Dreadnought in range, Jalen said, voice tight. Their command vessel. This could change everything. Tessa's mind raced. Focus all cloak decoys toward its approach vector. Rapid response fleet, intercept. Strike teams, maintain disruption. We cannot let them reach the core fleet. The bridge was a hive of concentrated energy. Orders flew, tactics adjusted in real time, every crew member operating with precision and purpose. The human fleet moved as one organism, fluid and unpredictable. The dreadnought fired a massive volley, cutting through space with devastating accuracy. Shields flared across the coalition fleet, absorbing much of the impact, but damage was inevitable. Alarms blared. Sparks danced across consoles. Engineering, reinforce forward shields. Tactical, counter with precision plasma bursts. Tessa barked. Every second we buy is a victory. Slowly, methodically, the rapid response fleet engaged. Strike units targeted weak points, cloaked drones projected phantom vessels to draw fire, and human ingenuity forced the Vorith dreadnought to divert and misfire. Jalen exhaled, almost inaudibly. It's holding. They can't bring their full power to bear. Tessa allowed herself the briefest sense of relief. Humanity had survived the first strike. More importantly, they had proven they could fight on their terms, not the terms imposed by an overwhelmingly superior enemy. She turned to her crew, voice steady, resolute. Remember this moment. The galaxy underestimates us because it believes numbers alone dictate victory. But it is our will, our ingenuity, and our courage that will define humanity. Today, we've made our mark. Outside, the stars seemed to shimmer with promise. The first strike had succeeded, not because humans were stronger, but because they were smarter, faster, and unafraid to defy expectation. The war was far from over, but Tessa knew one thing with absolute certainty: humanity would not go quietly into the void. They would strike. They would fight. And they would survive. The void ahead was silent, vast, and merciless, yet brimming with purpose. The coalition fleet, battered but unbroken, surged forward under Tessa Williams' command. After days of calculated strikes, ambushes, and diversions, the humans had forced the Vorith to reveal the location of their core command hub, a colossal orbital fortress circling the burned remnants of the erased human colony. Tessa stood at the bridge of the Titan, her eyes scanning the holographic display of the enemy's stronghold. 700,000 warships were converging on them, yet the fortress itself remained heavily shielded, its energy signature pulsing like a heartbeat. The magnitude of what they were facing was staggering, but Tessa's jaw was firm, her resolve unshakable. Commander, Jalen Cross spoke softly from the tactical console. Our intel confirms structural weaknesses along the dorsal shield arrays. It's a narrow window, but a concentrated strike could disable their defensive matrix. Tessa nodded. Then that's where we hit. Precision. Not brute force. Humanity has always thrived by turning disadvantage into opportunity. Let's remind the galaxy why. Lieutenant Horace Vento's hands moved in a blur over the navigation controls. We've charted a course through the debris field. It's risky, but it will get us close enough for a strike vector that minimizes exposure. Tessa's voice cut through the tension. We don't have the luxury of hesitation. All units, prepare for final engagement. Every drone, every strike craft, every human ship, coordinate for maximum impact. This is it. Either we take the hub or the hub takes everything we've built. The fleet entered the debris field, asteroids and shattered colonies drifting like tombstones in the dark. Enemy patrols skittered through the void, but the human ships moved with a fluidity the Vorith could not anticipate. Cloaked drones projected phantom formations, drawing fire, scattering enemy squadrons into chaotic patterns. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Titan. Incoming fleet! Sensors confirm multiple reinforcements. They've brought forward over 70,000 additional ships. Tessa's eyes narrowed. They're desperate. Good. That means they've underestimated us again. Spread the decoys. Make them chase shadows. Engage the hub directly. Jalen's fingers danced across the tactical interface. Commander, if we focus all remaining plasma cannons on the dorsal shield array simultaneously, we can create a cascading failure. But timing must be perfect. A single mistimed strike and the entire operation collapses. Tessa's eyes hardened. Then we will not miss time. Execute. The countdown began. Strike teams surged forward, weaving between the massive reinforcements, dodging volleys of energy and debris alike. Cloaked units projected false signatures, splitting enemy attention, drawing destroyers and dreadnoughts away from the core target. On the Titan, Tessa's hand hovered over the firing sequence. She spoke quietly, almost to herself. This is more than survival. This is vindication. Every human lost, every colony erased, it ends today. The plasma cannons fired. Bright, lethal arcs of energy slammed into the dorsal shields of the fortress. For a moment, time seemed suspended. Then, with a deafening pulse, the shields fractured, sparks and energy surges cascading outward. Shields down! Jalen shouted. We've got a window, targeting the command core. Human strike crafts darted forward, precise and relentless. Each vessel carried explosive charges and high-yield plasma disruptors, aimed at critical conduits within the fortress. The Vora scrambled, but their reaction was delayed, hindered by misdirection and human ingenuity. Tessa watched as the command hub began to tremble under the concentrated assault. Its once impenetrable hull began cracking, revealing glimpses of interior corridors, machinery, and command chambers. Commander, Harris called, voice tense. The Vorath are attempting a counterstrike. Their main dreadnoughts are converging on the hub. Tessa's mind raced. We anticipated this. Deploy the rapid response units to intercept. Use the remaining drones to blind their sensors. Focus fire on the command hub, nothing else matters. The ensuing chaos was deafening in holographic simulation, though the vacuum of space swallowed sound. Explosions rocked the fortress as coordinated attacks pierced armor plating. Smaller human crafts darted inside, triggering internal detonations that cascaded outward, destabilizing the structure. Suddenly, a Vorath command vessel emerged from hyperspace, colossal and dark, its weapons arrayed in a precise, terrifying formation. Its energy signature eclipsed the sun, and every human officer froze at the magnitude. Tessa's voice cut through the tension. Prepare the Titan for direct engagement. All remaining power to forward cannons. We're not just hitting them, we're making sure they remember humanity. The bridge was a flurry of activity. Plasma streams met the dreadnought's shields flared, and energy resonated through the Titan. Tessa's fingers moved with deft precision, adjusting trajectories, timing volleys to match the hub's internal vulnerabilities. Inside the command hub, the Vorath High Command was in disarray. They've done the impossible, their leader hissed, eyes scanning collapsing schematics and failing sensors. Deploy the reinforcements. Stop them at all costs. But the human fleet had already taken the initiative. Cloaked decoys, rapid response units, and strike crafts forced the Vorath into defensive maneuvers, preventing them from consolidating their power. The hub continued to fracture under relentless pressure. Commander, core destabilizing. Explosion imminent! Jalen shouted. Tessa's gaze was unwavering. All units, retreat to safe vector. Evacuate strike crafts. Shield the fleet. Seconds later, the fortress erupted in a brilliant, lethal blossom of energy. Debris scattered across kilometers of space, and the shockwave rippled through the remaining Vorath fleet. Their dreadnoughts faltered, formations broken, morale shattered. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, across the comm channels, victory messages began to pour in. Core destroyed. Enemy retreating. All human units accounted for. Mission success confirmed. Tessa exhaled slowly, shoulders relaxing for the first time in days. She turned to Jalen and Harris, eyes reflecting pride and exhaustion alike. This is only the beginning. Humanity will rise not just as survivors, but as a force no one can ignore. Outside, the stars sparkled with a hard-earned promise. The galaxy had witnessed the tenacity, courage, and ingenuity of humans. They had avenged the erased colony, not with overwhelming numbers alone, but with strategy, coordination, and an indomitable will. Tessa's voice was calm but resolute, broadcasting across the fleet. Let every corner of the galaxy hear this: humans fight. Humans endure. And humans never forget. Today, we've proven that to every sentient race in the void. A faint smile touched her lips. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. The battle was over, but the war for recognition and survival had only just begun. The galaxy would remember this day, and the humans who refused to bow. The Titan and the fleet moved forward, scarred but undefeated, into a universe that had just learned one immutable truth: humanity was not to be underestimated.